The room was full of laughter. Alien students sat on floating chairs, their faces glowing with amusement. Holograms floated above them, videos of Earth's animals doing strange things. A raccoon stealing food, a monkey riding a bike, a chicken chasing a small human child. "This," said Instructor Varnix, "is your final exam subject, Earth." More laughter echoed through the wide, silver lecture hall. The ceiling shimmered with the stars of the galaxy, but today, all attention was focused on the little blue planet shown at the center of the room. "Humans call it a Deathworld," Varnix continued with a mocking grin. "But we all know the truth. Earth is no such thing. Not anymore." The hologram zoomed in to show a peaceful green forest. A small bird landed on a branch, singing sweetly. Then it showed a human feeding ducks by a lake. Another clip showed humans walking tiny dogs with clothes on. "This is the most dangerous world in the galaxy?" One student asked, smirking. The entire class burst out laughing again. Only one student didn't join in. Cadrix, a tall, quiet alien with dark blue scales and bright green eyes, stared at the screen without smiling. He leaned forward, studying every detail. "Why do they call it a death world then?" he asked calmly. The room grew slightly quieter. Varnix's grin faded a little. Old classification. Long before humans built cities and shields and tamed their nature, Earth once had strong predators, rough weather, and unstable environments. But that was ages ago. Now it's soft, safe, civilized. Then why study it? Cadrix pressed out. Another student chuckled. "Maybe for jokes," Varnix smiled again. "Because your final test is survival. We're sending a group of volunteers to Earth's wild zones. No contact. No weapons. Just you and nature." A hush fell over the room. "For how long?" a nervous student asked. 3 days. "It's not a challenge," Varnix said, waving a hand. "No humans. Just forests and some wildlife. Think of it as a camping trip." Several students raised their hands, volunteering with excitement. "I want to see a chicken in real life." Someone joked, "I want a picture with one of those tiny furry dogs." Another laughed. Cadrix raised his hand silently. "Very well," said Varnix. "Transport leaves in 2 cycles. You'll be dropped in the northwestern forest region of Earth's largest landmass. Good luck." As the students filed out, still laughing and joking, Cadrix stayed behind. He stared at the last image on the screen, a squirrel holding a nut and staring directly at the camera. Its eyes were sharp. "Focus." Cadrix whispered to himself. "That's not a joke." 2 days later, Earth Drop Zone, the transport ship hummed as it descended through Earth's atmosphere. The alien students, 14 in total, were dressed in light survival gear. Their helmets had basic oxygen support and translators. No weapons, no shields. Just basic scanners and food packs. The shuttle landed in a wide clearing surrounded by thick pine trees. Snow covered the ground. It was late winter in this region. "Welcome to Earth," the pilot said before lifting off again. The students looked around, excited and relaxed. "This place looks dead," one said. "Nothing but trees." "No danger at all," another replied, kicking at the snow. They began setting up a temporary camp, basic shelters, and a small fire area using thermal stones. "Let's explore," said Narek, a confident, bulky student who always took charge. 3 students joined him while the others stayed to organize the supplies. Cadrix checked the scanner. No large heat signatures nearby, but something's strange. "What do you mean?" asked a student named Dreevy. "The scanner shows movement," Cadrix replied. "Fast movement, small, but it disappears too quickly." Dreevy shrugged. "Probably just birds or rodents." Cadrix didn't answer. He looked toward the forest. For a second, he thought he saw movement in the shadows. But when he focused, nothing was there. 4 hours later, Narek's group hadn't returned. The sun was setting. Earth's sky turned orange and red. The forest shadows grew long. Cadric stood up, frowning. They should have been back by now. They probably found something fun, Dreevy said. Maybe a frozen lake to slide on. Suddenly, a loud scream echoed from the forest. Everyone froze. It came again, high-pitched, panicked, then cut off. They grabbed their basic lights and rushed into the woods. The trees were tight and close. The snow crunched under their boots. They found broken branches, and then blood. Dark red blood splattered across a tree trunk. No bodies, someone whispered. They followed the trail, more blood. A torn boot. Then, claw marks on the trees. Deep, wide claw marks, much larger than any of their hands. What did that? Dreevy asked, his voice shaking. They reached a small clearing. The ground was torn. Their friend's small camp crushed, supplies shredded. A torn blanket covered in blood flapped in the wind. There were no signs of life. Cadrics turned slowly. The trees rustled. Something moved between the branches, fast, silent. He raised his hand. Back to camp, now. That night, the remaining students sat close to the thermal stones. No one joked anymore. Cadric stood watch with a light scanner, trying to pick up heat sources. The scanner kept glitching. Movement, then nothing. One student paced nervously. "We're being hunted." "By what?" another asked. "This planet doesn't have real predators anymore." Cadric thought about the claw marks. "No humans," he said. "But this is their world. They're wild places. We were told the planet is soft. But that's not what I see." Dreevy walked over with a small box. "What's that?" Cadric asked. "Found it near a rock formation. Looked human." They opened the box carefully. Inside was a journal written in Earth script, but their translator adapted it quickly. Cadric read the first line aloud. "If you're reading this, you're probably already in trouble. Rule number 1 on Earth: never think you're the top of the food chain." Everyone stared at him. "Who leaves a warning like that?" one asked. Cadric flipped the page. "Survival here isn't about power. It's about respect. Respect the land. Respect the creatures. Or they'll end you before you even see them." Outside the camp, a distant howl rose into the night sky. A second howl followed. Then a third, closer. Wolves. The students turned pale. The translator confirmed the sound: Canis lupus, pack behavior, apex predator. "They're just animals," someone whispered. The howl came again, closer. Cadric, read one more line from the journal. "Wolves don't hunt for food alone. They hunt to test you, to see if you belong." Suddenly, movement from the trees. Glowing yellow eyes appeared in the darkness. A shadow darted between trees, fast and low. One student screamed. A flash of fur. Then silence. They rushed over. The student was gone. Just tracks, blood, and claw marks. Final Santa. Cadric stood with the journal in his hand. Snow fell around him, silent and cold. The group had lost 2 more students by dawn. They stood close together, now terrified, silent. No one laughed. No one joked. Cadric stared into the forest. "The instructor was wrong," he said quietly. "This world isn't soft. It's awake, and it's watching us." From the edge of the trees, a small squirrel sat on a branch, staring at them. It didn't run. It didn't hide. It just watched. The night was not quiet anymore. The wind whispered through the tall trees. The snow crackled under footsteps. But these footsteps were not alien. They were wild, natural, hungry. Cadric stood near the fire. He held the small Earth journal tight in his hands. Every page he read made him more sure. They had made a mistake. They had laughed at Earth. Now Earth was laughing back. 3 hours earlier screams echoed through the forest again. Another student gone. The group of remaining 10 gathered back near the main camp. Fear was heavy in their eyes. No one slept. No one even sat. "What is happening?" Dreevy asked. His hands were shaking. "They're just animals. Why are they hunting us like prey?" Cadric replied, "Because we are prey now." One of the stronger students, Varn, growled in frustration. I say we fight back, we build traps, we take control. Control? Kadric said, looking around. This is not our world. Look at the trees, the ground, the cold. This land doesn't belong to us, it belongs to them. A low howl rose. Again from the dark forest. Not far. Not anymore. They prepared, despite the fear. They tried to prepare. Using thermal stones, they lit a small ring of heat around the camp to keep predators away. They placed motion sensors on nearby trees. They stayed in groups of 3 or 4. Varn and 2 others walked to collect branches and snow to build walls. Kadric sat near the journal, reading more notes. Earth, Survival Journal, page 9. Wolves don't attack the weak first. They attack the proud, the loud, the one who thinks he can't be hunted. If you stand too tall, you make a clear target. Kadric looked toward Varn. He was laughing loudly again. I will break any creature that comes near. He shouted, the Kandu. Forest was silent, too silent. Then something rushed past behind him. Fast, silent. He turned quickly. Nothing. But the movement was real. Back to the camp. Kadric called. The first attack had happened fast. A gray blur shot out from the shadows and tackled Varn to the ground. His scream filled the forest. Blood splattered across the snow. The others rushed forward, but the creature vanished into the trees. All that remained was Varn's torn armor and his shredded helmet. His face was gone, only claw marks remained. The group froze. One student dropped to her knees and began to sob. We are not soldiers, she whispered. We were students. Just students. Kadric closed the journal and stood. No, we were fools, he said. Retreat and strategy only. 9 remained now. They moved camp closer to a small frozen stream. The open space gave them better vision in all directions. Still, the darkness pressed in around them. They took turns keeping watch. Kadric and Drevi shared the first shift. They sat with their backs against a rock, the journal between them. Why do they hunt us? Drevi asked quietly. We're not even fighting them. Kadric replied, they don't care what we think. Earth's creatures don't ask permission. They just act. They test. They adapt. They survive. Suddenly, the scanner beeped. Movement. Close. 10 meters. Then 5. Then gone. No sound. No smell. Just gone. Drevi tightened his grip on a metal rod. Should we wake the others? Kadric shook his head. No, let's see what it wants. For 5 minutes there was nothing. Then a small stone rolled into their camp, followed by a second. Then silence. Kadric stood slowly and scanned the trees. He saw it. 2 yellow eyes. Watching. Unbl. King. He didn't move. He didn't blink. And slowly the eyes vanished into the dark again. They're testing us, Kadric whispered. Like the journal said. Earth Survival Journal, page 13. If the wolves see you fear them, they come closer. If you chase them, they scatter, but if you stand your ground, they watch and learn. Sometimes that's enough. The morning sunrise came like a slow breath. The cold didn't leave. But the forest was quieter. They had survived the night. Only one attack, but the cost was still high. Kadric gathered everyone. We cannot survive like this. Not just hiding, not just waiting. What do you want to do? Drevi asked. We learn. Like humans, we study this world. Understand its patterns, its rules. He held up the journal. This is our weapon now. Plan of action. They split into teams. One group looked for high ground somewhere. Better to defend. Another searched for safe water sources. Kadric and Drevi followed animal tracks. They found wolf prints. They studied them carefully. They were surrounded. Wolves had circled their old camp many times during the night. From all sides. But they didn't finish us, Drevi noted. No, Kadric agreed. They're still watching. Afternoon discovery in the deeper part of the forest. Cadrix found something strange. A broken human drone, old, damaged, covered in moss. Next to it, another small human journal. This one was waterproof. Cadrix opened it. Inside was a photo. A man and a large dog stood in front of a dead mountain lion. Day 39. Lucky and I finally stopped it. Took everything we had. But this land doesn't let you quit. You stand or you die. Cadrix stared at the photo. Humans fight monsters here. Without armor, without weapons. Just with their minds and will. He looked around. And we call them weak? Back at camp, the team returned with supplies and new energy. They started building better shelters. Stronger walls. They boiled snow for water. They made tools from broken scanner parts. They adapted. But night came again. So did the howls. This time. More. Closer. Cadrix climbed a tree and watched from above. He saw movement. 5, 6, maybe 7 wolves. All staying just outside the firelight. He saw their leader, a massive dark gray wolf with one missing ear. It walked like a king. The others followed its steps perfectly. They have a leader, he whispered. A pack structure, discipline, earth. Survival journal, page 17. The alpha is not the strongest. He's the smartest. He knows when to fight, when to wait. If you want to live, don't just fight the beast, understand the brain behind it. The real test begins. Cadrix shared what he saw. They're testing our defenses, watching, counting. They wait until we're weak. What do we do? Dreevy asked. We turn the test on them. We test them back. They built decoys, dummy shelters, empty fires. They used their remaining gear to mimic sound and movement. And then they waited. The second night attack, the wolves came. They attacked the decoy camp first. Confusion. 2. Wolves trapped in a fake pit. Another hit by a stun light trap. But the alpha watched from a distance. He never moved. Cadrix saw him, and the alpha saw him. For a moment, it felt like they understood each other. Predator to predator. Student to master. Then the wolves pulled back. No losses on the alien side. None. For the first time. The students didn't run. They didn't scream. They stood. Together. Alive. Final scene by morning. The snow was red where traps had sprung. One wolf limped away. Another howled in pain in the trees. Cadrix sat with the journal in hand. He added his own page. Earth is not just a death world. It is a teacher, a mirror. It shows you who you really are. And if you don't like it, too bad. He looked toward the trees. The alpha was gone. But the lesson remained. Earth wasn't done with them yet. And something else, something worse, was still out there. Watching, waiting. The morning air was still and cold. The snow had begun to melt slightly, and fog rolled between the trees like quiet ghosts. Cadrix stood near the edge of the stream, watching the water slowly move under a thin sheet of ice. He held the earth. Survival journal in one hand and a broken scanner in the other. Behind him, the camp was silent. Only 8 students were left now. The wolf attacks had changed everything. No one laughed anymore. No one called Earth a joke. This planet was not just alive, it was wild, unpredictable, and intelligent its own way. But the wolves were only the beginning. The real horror had wings. Hook, suspense begins. It started with a scream, a sharp, sudden scream that tore through the camp like a blade. Cadrix ran toward the noise. He saw a student Juro on the ground, rolling and screaming, his arms flailing wildly. Tiny red dots covered his arms, face, and neck. Get them off. Get them off. Cadrix froze. The red dots were ants. Hundreds of them. Their bodies shimmered slightly in the sunlight. Their bites left angry, red, swollen marks that oozed yellow liquid. Juro's eyes rolled back as his body twitched. His skin began to blister. Cadrix grabbed the thermal blanket and wrapped it around him, trying to smother the insects. But it was too late. Juro stopped moving. His breathing slowed. And then it stopped completely. Confusion and fear. What just happened? Drevi asked, his voice breaking. They were just ants, said another student, trembling. Kedrix looked at the scanner. According to the journal, bullet ants. He opened to the right page. Earth Survival Journal, page 22. Bullet ants. The most painful insect sting on Earth. Feels like being shot. And the pain lasts for hours, sometimes days. One ant is manageable. 100? That's death. The students looked at each other in shock. Insects? One whispered, "We're dying because of insects now." Cadrix didn't answer. He was thinking. The wolves had tested them with fear and silence. The insects came with pain. And speed. This world had many weapons. And it was using them. Heat and movement as the day passed. The temperature rose. Snow melted faster now. Patches of wet ground showed under the trees. And with the moisture came life. Tiny flying things buzzed in the air. Mosquitoes, flies, beetles. But they weren't just annoying. One student was bitten by a mosquito. His skin turned pale. Within hours. Then came the fever, then the shaking. He began speaking in broken words. His eyes lost focus. No cure? Cadrix asked Drevi. Drevi checked the scanner. The translator says, malaria, earth disease. Very old, still deadly. They tried to cool his body, gave him water, wrapped him in warmth, but he didn't last the night. Page 26 of the journal. It's not just the teeth that kill you on Earth. It's the tiny things. The things you don't see. You can fight a bear. You can run from wolves. But what do you do against a bite you didn't notice? 7 left now. The strongest minds were beginning to break. One student began to laugh at nothing. Another refused to leave his tent. Drevi sat with Cadrix near the fire, reading the journal. This planet kills us in every way, Drevi said. With animals, with insects, with disease, even with fear. Cadrix looked up at the trees. Double quotes, no. It doesn't kill, it tests. Monkey trouble. The next morning, they spotted movement near the trees, something small, fast. Cadrix grabbed the scanner. Worm's signature, medium-sized, not a predator. They followed it carefully. A small monkey sat on a log, holding one of their supply packs. It looked at them, made a strange noise, then tore the pack open with its sharp fingers. Food scattered. The monkey picked something shiny, a plasma torch handle. It clicked it. The light flicked on. The monkey screamed with joy and ran into the trees. After it. Someone yelled. 3 students chased it. Cadrix stayed back, but he knew this was not smart. Ambush. The forest changed quickly. The trees became denser. The ground was wet and soft. The smell was wrong. Rot, wet earth, insect nests. Cadrix ran after the others, shouting, "Stop! It's a trap!" But it was too late. The students had stepped into a wasp nest zone. Massive flying insects buzzed out of holes in the trees. Dozens, then hundreds. Their bodies were black and yellow. Their wings fast and sharp. One student was stung in the neck. He dropped instantly. Another tried to run, but tripped. The wasps swarmed him. Screams. Panic. Pain. Kadrix threw smoke pods from his pack into the air. The gray fog spread fast. The wasps slowed, confused, and retreated. But 2 students were already down, one dead, one barely breathing. Aftermath. Back at camp, they treated the wounds. Applied cooling gel. Wrapped swollen arms and legs. The survivor couldn't speak. His throat had closed from the stings. Kadrix watched over him all night. Drevi sat near the fire. Why didn't we just listen? He asked. Why did we think Earth was safe? Cadrix said nothing. He stared into the fire and added a note into the journal. Do not chase what runs. Let the wild come to you. Earth doesn't care what you want. It gives you what you deserve. Bigger threat. The next day, they moved camp again. Too many insect nests. Too dangerous. They found a dry rock hill nearby and made a new shelter from high ground. They could see more of the forest. That's when Cadrix noticed something strange. Dark shape moving under the surface of a small pond. He used the scanner. Large heat signature. Cold-blooded. What is it? Dreevy asked. Cadrix stared, then pointed. From the water rose the head of a crocodile. Its eyes locked with Cadrix's, then slowly it disappeared again under the water. Journal, page 31. Still water is death on Earth. It may look calm, safe, but beneath, something always waits. Final blow later that day. A student tried to refill water packs from the pond. Cadrix yelled, "No, stop!" But it was too late. The crocodile exploded from the water. Like a missile, its jaws opened wide. One bite, the student was gone. Pulled under. No screen. No chance. Just red water. The team stood frozen. They didn't even try to recover the body. Final scene. Only 4 were left now. Cadrix. Drevi. And 2 others, both quiet. Both broken. They sat around the fire in the night. But there was no comfort. The sounds of insects buzzed in the distance. The trees moved with wind. And the darkness felt alive. Cadrix opened the journal one last time that night. You cannot fight the world. You can only respect it, or become part of its bones. He closed it, looked up, and saw 2 glowing eyes staring from the dark. Not a wolf, not a bear, something else, something big, and it was coming. The night was colder than before. The wind moved through the trees like a whisper filled with secrets. The fire burned low. The air was still. Cadrix sat with his back against a rock, the Earth Survival Journal in his hands. His eyes scanned the words, but his mind was on the glowing eyes he had seen earlier. It wasn't a wolf. It wasn't a crocodile. It was something bigger. Something heavier. He had felt the ground shake slightly when it moved. Now, only 4 students were left. Cadrix. Drevi. Eline. And Sullen. And Earth wasn't finished with them. Not yet. Hook. Suspense begins. They heard it before they saw it. A deep, heavy sound. Like breathing. But not close. Not fast. Slow. Deep. Powerful. Then came the sound of branches breaking. Not snapping. Breaking. Like wood being crushed under pure strength. Talon stood up. What's that sound? Cadrix didn't answer. He was already looking toward the forest line, between 2 tall trees. Something massive moved. It stepped into the FIRELIGHT. All 4 students froze. It was a bear, a massive brown bear. Over 3 meters tall, covered in thick fur. Its black eyes locked onto the aliens. It sniffed the air. Then it stood on its hind legs. Solon whispered, "Should we run?" Cadrix whispered back, "No, running means prey. Don't move." The bear looked at them for 5 long seconds. Then it dropped to all 4s and walked away, back into the forest. Not running, not scared. Just leaving. The warning. The group remained silent for a full minute. Then Dreevy spoke. Why didn't it attack? Cadrix opened the journal and flipped quickly. He found the page, Earth Survival Journal, page 35. The bear is not like the wolf. It is not a hunter by nature. It is a king. It only attacks if you challenge it, threaten its space, or act like prey. When a bear stands before you and walks away, that is not mercy. It is a warning. We're near its territory. Cadrix said, maybe even its den. Solon looked around. So what do we do? Cadrix stared at the trees. We learn, fast. The den they explored carefully the next morning. Cadrix led the way. He marked trees, scanned the ground, and watched for signs. Then he found it. A wide cave at the base of a rocky hill. Inside bones, large bones, animal skulls, and claw marks on the walls. This is the bear's den, Dreevy said. Yes, Cadrix replied. And it let us go once. It won't do it again. They moved camp a little farther. But not too far. The bear owns this land, Cadric said. If we stay respectful, we survive. Trouble within, but not all agreed. Talon was growing angry. This is stupid, he said. We came to test this world, not hide from it like cowards. Solon nodded. We should take control, set traps, show dominance. Cadric stared at them. This isn't about dominance. This world doesn't care about your pride. It only respects those who listen. Talon grabbed a metal pole. If I see that bear again, I'll fight it. Drevi stepped forward. You'll die, Talon laughed. Then I'll die fighting, not hiding like prey. The mistake that night. Talon left the camp. He carried a pack, a metal rod, and a light. Cadric tried to stop him. I'm going to mark that cave, Talon said. I'll show the bear who's the real apex predator. You don't mark the king's throne, Cadric warned. Not on Earth. But Talon left. They waited. An hour passed. Then a scream echoed from the hill. A deep, terrified scream. Then silence. The return. Cadric, Drevi, and Solon ran toward the sound. They found the cave. They found blood, pieces of armor, and drag marks, but no body. Cadric looked around and whispered. He touched the throne. Page 38 of the journal. The bear does not give warnings twice. Only 3 were left now. 3 out of 14, and the forest was still. Full of life. Still full of death. New Strateguy. Cadric sat with Drevi and Solon near the fire. He looked into the flames and said, We stopped thinking like aliens. We stopped thinking like students. From now on, we think like survivors. They agreed. They built higher watchtowers using trees. They placed stone markers around their area, and not as a claim, but as a signal of respect. They left food near the edge of the bear's territory. Not to feed it, but as a peace offering. And they stayed quiet. Very quiet. The test. 3 days passed. No attacks. No signs of the bear. No new danger. Then, on the 4th day, Drevi saw it again. From his watchpost, he spotted the bear near the stream. It was drinking water. Calm, strong. Then, it looked up. And stared at Drevi. Long, deep, still. Then it turned and walked away. Drevi came down shaking. It saw me. It knew I was watching. Cadric said, It knows we understand now. We listened. That's why we're alive. The real message that night. Cadric opened the journal. He added a new page. The bear is not our enemy. It is Earth's message to U.S. Not everything can be fought. Some things must be respected. If you cannot kneel to nature, you will kneel to death. One last sign. On the 6th day, they heard a new sound. A distant engine. Then a flash in the sky. The extraction ship. Finally. Rescue. Packed their few things. Left behind most gear. And one final thing. Cadric placed the Earth Survival Journal on a stone near the camp. He placed Talon's cracked armor plate next to it and wrote one line on the stone. Learn or be eaten. Final scene. As the ship lifted off, Cadric looked down one last time. In the trees, the bear stood. Watching. Not chasing. Not angry, just aware. And Cadric understood something no alien had ever known before. Earth was not a place to conquer. It was a world you earned the right to walk on, and they had finally earned it. But the test was far from over, because somewhere deeper in the woods, something else had begun to move. Something worse than wolves. Worse than bears. It was no longer just animals. It was the planet itself, and it had just woken up. The sun had barely risen when the first shadow fell over the camp. Cadric was already awake, staring at the morning fog drifting between the trees. The forest was quiet, almost too quiet. The kind of silence that made your skin crawl. Then he saw it, a dark mass moving fast through the sky. Thousands of tiny shapes winged, buzzing and swirling like a black storm. A swarm. The insects from hell had returned. The warning before the storm. Cadric shouted, Get inside! Get inside now. Drevi, Solon, and the others scrambled, grabbing what they could and running to their shelters. The swarm grew larger, blotting out the sun like a shadow spreading across the land. They heard the loud buzzing, like thousands of wings beating an angry rhythm. The first stings hit, sharp, burning, painful. The students swatted and screamed. But the insects came faster than their hands could move. Cadrix grabbed a smoke pod and threw it into the middle of the camp. Gray fog rolled out, confusing the swarm. Some insects scattered, but most stayed. The fight to survive, the swarm attacked. In waves, insects bit the students' exposed skin. The bites burned with poison. Several students dropped to their knees, gasping and coughing. Cadrix helped Drevi put on a thick cloth scarf around his neck to block stings. "We need fire," Cadrix sighed. "They hate smoke and heat." Solon ran to gather dry branches and lit a fire. The flames roared, pushing back the swarm. But it wasn't enough. The ground around the camp was soon covered with stinging insects. The students had no choice but to retreat. Retreat into the forest. They ran deeper into the trees. Away from the open camp, the thick forest slowed the swarm. The buzzing faded behind the leaves. Cadrix and the others took shelter in a hollow tree. They covered their skin with mud to block the insects. They stayed quiet, holding their breath. Swarm passed overhead. When the silence returned, they slowly came out. Earth Survival Journal, page 42. When the sky falls with wings, run to the earth. Hide in the mud. Survive the storm, and the world will forget your scent. Finding new allies as they moved cautiously through the forest, Cadrix noticed movement. Small creatures, about the size of their hands, crawling along branches. Strange ants, larger than before, but moving slowly. Suddenly, one ant lifted its head and hissed at the students. Cadrix stopped. "These are not ordinary ants," he said. "They're guarding something." The group followed the ants. They arrived at a hidden clearing. In the center stood a giant mound of twigs and leaves. The smell was strong and sweet. "An insect nest?" Solon asked. Cadrix nodded. But then the ground shook slightly. From the mound, a huge insect emerged. A queen, larger than a human head, with shining black armor and red eyes. It hissed loudly. The students froze. Unexpected allies. Cadrix stepped forward. Slowly, he held out his hand, showing peace. The queen moved closer, studying him. Then she turned and disappeared back into the nest. The ants relaxed. Cadrix smiled. "We have friends," he whispered. The plan using the ants and their queen. The students built traps. They set fires in narrow paths. They used smoke and light to confuse the swarm. The insects attacked less. The forest seemed to help them. Cadrix realized Earth was not just fighting them. It was testing them. The final storm won. Night. The swarm attacked again. This time, the students were ready. They set traps that lit on fire. The ants attacked the swarm with sharp mandibles. The students fought with fire and smoke. The battle lasted all night. By dawn, the swarm was broken. Aftermath. Students were exhausted but alive. Cadrix opened the journal. He wrote, "Earth's wild things can be deadly, but even the smallest can be our allies. Respect the world, and it will teach you to survive." Final scene. As the sun rose, Cadrix looked up. The sky was clear. The forest was quiet. The insects were gone. But Cadrix knew the real test was still ahead. Earth was a death world, but it was also a school, and they had only just passed the first lesson. The forest was quiet, too quiet. Cadrix and the others moved carefully, their eyes sharp, their breaths slow and controlled. The heavy silence pressed on them like a thick fog. It was the kind of silence that meant something was coming. Only 3 students remained now: Cadrix, Drevi, and Solon. The others had fallen one by one to Earth's many dangers. Wolves, insects, bears, and diseases had thinned their group to this small number. Cadrix held the Earth Survival Journal tightly. He had read its words so many times, They felt like part of his skin now. They had survived so far. But they knew the worst was not over. The strange stillness, the sun was low behind the tall pines. The shadows stretched like fingers across the frozen ground. Kadrix stopped. He raised a hand. Wait. The others stopped behind him. The forest seemed to hold its breath. No birds sang. No animals moved. Even the wind was still. Drivi whispered. It's too quiet. Kadrix nodded. Something is watching. The hidden threat suddenly, Solon pointed ahead, a faint movement. A shimmer between the trees. Kadrix focused. The scanner beeped softly, heat signatures multiple, but very small, tiny shapes. Spiders, Solon said quietly. Kadrix's eyes narrowed. These were no ordinary spiders. Their legs were long and thin like needles. Their bodies glowed faintly with green light. Silent hunters, Kadrix said. They wait, then strike. The trap, the ground around them, was covered in webs, fine, almost invisible silk stretching from tree to tree. Kadrix lifted his foot carefully, but as he did, a thread snapped in vibrated. Suddenly, dozens of tiny spiders dropped from above. The students fought them off with quick movements, smashing the spiders before they could bite. But the spiders were too many. Kadrix grabbed a burning branch and swung it. The flames caught the webs and the creatures, sending them flying. The fire crackled, but more spiders dropped. It's a trap! Drivi shouted. Earth Survival Journal, page 45. The silent hunters spin webs that catch the unwary. Their bite is quick and deadly. Fire is their enemy, but only for a short time. A desperate escape, the spiders pressed in, but biting and weaving more webs. Kadrix grabbed Solon's arm. Run! They dashed through the forest, the spiders chasing, their tiny fangs biting exposed skin. Solon stumbled and fell, webs sticking to his clothes. Kadrix turned and pulled him up, tearing the sticky silk with his hands. The pain from spider bites burned fiercely, but they pushed on. Lure of darkness, they reached a small clearing bathed in moonlight, but the ground trembled beneath their feet. A large shadow moved silently. From behind the trees, a massive creature, unlike anything they had seen before. It was covered in thick black fur, but its eyes glowed red. Its claws were long and sharp, and it moved without a sound. The silent huntress of the forest had come. The final test. Kadrix raised the journal. He whispered, This is the last test. If we fail, we die here. The creature circled them slowly, its gaze never leaving Kadrix. Drivi gripped his weapon tightly. Solon, weak from bites, barely stood. Kadrix stood tall, calm despite the fear. He remembered the journal's words. When the silent hunt begins, stand still. Do not run. Do not show fear. They respect strength. The showdown. The creature lunged suddenly. Kadrix dodged, swinging his weapon. The beast snarled, claws slashing close. Drivi and Solon joined the fight, striking at the creature's legs and face. The battle was fierce and fast. Blows landed, teeth snapped, claws ripped. Kadrix shouted, Hold together. They fought as one, moving quickly, covering each other. Victory and loss finally. The creature roared and retreated into the shadows. The forest sighed with relief. But the cost was high. Solen collapsed, breathing hard. Drivi was bleeding from a deep claw wound. Kadrix knelt beside them, wrapping a cloth around Drivi's arm. We survived, Kadrix said softly. For now. The last page's dawn broke. Kadrix opened the journal one last time. Earth's final lesson. Respect the wild. Respect its silence and respect its hunt. Those who do not become the hunted. He closed the book. The forest around them was alive again, birds singing, animals moving. But Kadrix knew the silence would return, and when it did, the hunt would begin again. Final scene. The extraction ship was scheduled to arrive in 2 days. Kadrix looked up at the sky. He thought of Earth, not just a death world, but a teacher. And as the wind whispered through the trees, he smiled faintly. They had learned much, but survival was only just beginning. The cold wind blew through the trees. Cadric stood alone on a rocky hill, staring at the sky. The extraction ship would arrive soon. After weeks of horror, pain, and fight, it was almost time to leave. But leaving Earth was not so simple. Earth was not just a place to survive. It was a test, a challenge. And Cadric knew the final trial was yet to come. The quiet before the storm, the camp was silent. Only Cadric, Drevi, and Solon remained. The wounds, the bites, the scars, they told a story of pain and strength. Each night, Cadric had read the journal again and again. It was more than a book. It was a guide to Earth's soul. Today Cadric felt a strange calm. The forest was alive with sounds, birds, insects, distant howls. But somewhere deep in the trees, something waited. An unexpected visitor. Suddenly, Drevi called out, "Cadric, look!" In the distance, through the fog, a figure appeared. Not human, not alien, a tall creature, covered in green scales, with glowing blue eyes. Cadric stepped forward cautiously. The creature raised its hand in peace. "I am Alar, guardian of this forest," it said in a voice that echoed like the wind. "The Guardians." Warningler spoke of Earth's ancient power. This planet is alive. It watches, learns, and punishes those who do not respect it. Cadric listened carefully. "You have survived much," Ilar said. "But the true challenge is still ahead." "What challenge?" Cadric asked. "Your extraction ship carries more than just you. It carries weapons, weapons that could destroy this land." A choice to make. Cadric's heart beat fast. He thought of the war waiting in space. The orders from his leaders: destroy Earth's defenses and take the planet. But here, on the ground, he had learned something else. Earth was not weak. Earth was not just a death world. It was a living force. And it would fight back. Preparing for the final battle, Cadric gathered Drevi and Solon. "We have a choice," he said. "Fight or respect." They decided to warn the ship. To stop the attack. To find peace. But it was not easy. The attack begins. The sky darkened suddenly. Ships appeared. Not just one. Whole fleet. They fired weapons. Missiles and lasers cut through the forest. Trees exploded. Ground shook. Cadrix and the others ran to hide, fighting back using what they had learned. They fought back. Traps and fires slowed the enemy. Earth's animals joined. Wolves, bears, and even the insect swarms attacked the invaders. Cadric stood tall in the center of the battle. He held the journal like a shield. The turning point appeared again. With him came other guardians, creatures of stone, trees, and water. The battle grew fierce. The alien fleet was surprised. They did not expect Earth to fight back like this. A new respect. Cadric raised his voice over the noise. "Stop. We want peace." The fleet commander hesitated. Cadrix explained what he had learned. The forest, the animals, the pain, it was all a message. The galaxy could not conquer Earth by force. They had to earn its respect. The end or a new beginning. The fleet withdrew. Earth remained. Cadric, Drevi, and Solon looked at the ruined forest. They knew recovery would be hard, but hope lived in their hearts. They had survived. They had learned. They had changed. Final scene. As the extraction ship lifted off, Cadric looked back. One last time. The forest was still, but it was strong. And so were they. Earth was no longer just a death world. It was home. And Cadric whispered, "We are ready." The end.